We are talking about healthy goal weights, or more specifically, what happens when we think we have a healthy goal weight, but perhaps that number, that goal, no longer suits us anymore. So many times I see people, especially when it gets down to those last 5 to 10 pounds, when you're fighting and you're fighting and you're fighting to lose that weight, and you find that your body is resisting. Certainly, there are things that we can do to spark a change and bring about change, and we can keep pushing for that. But maybe it's also time to consider that you might be at your healthy range, at your healthy weight. And maybe it's time to just let go of the number and continue on with your healthy habits. I think when we're considering weight loss as a goal, it should be just one of the factors you're looking at amongst all of these other things, such as body fat percentage, muscular strength and endurance, cardiovascular health, and then all of your stats in terms of blood pressure and cholesterol and things like that. So it's just one of the things that we look at. It's not something that you want to ignore by any means, but it's just one of the things you should factor in. And yet it seems to be the one thing that can really bring us down, or we allow ourselves to be defined by it. And I want you to just really take a deep breath and let that part of your weight loss goal, let it go. Because especially when you are doing strength training and our workouts are so powerful, you really should go by more so how your clothes feel. Because, you often hear that muscle weighs more than fat. Well, we know that a pound of fat and a pound of muscle weigh the same. A pound is a pound. But muscle is much more dense than fatty tissue. So when you're getting stronger and stronger and you're building this lean muscle, you might find that your clothes are fitting a little bit better and your pants are a little bit looser, but you're either staying the same on the scale, or sometimes you gain a little bit of weight. And that can be so stressful, because again, we let that number sink into our mind and let it frustrate us. So don't let that happen. When you are following a consistent workout routine, you might notice a little ebb and flow in the wrong direction, or we think it's the wrong direction. So take a deep breath and don't let that stress you out. Let weight be just one of the things that you check in with in terms of your progress, but don't let it be the only thing. Back in 2008, before I was diagnosed with cancer, keep in mind I'm about 5'9", 5'8" now with my herniated disc, but I was around 125 to 130, and I call that my healthy set point, my healthy set weight, because I was able to stay at that weight without doing anything extra. I didn't have to work out like a mad person to stay at that weight. It was just where my body naturally set in with a normal amount of fitness and a healthy diet, seemingly healthy. At the time, that was when all of like the fake sugars and things like that were in. So not so healthy in this day and age, but back then healthy. And fast forward a few years, and even after doing holistic treatments, my body has just significantly changed in so many ways. And it's just, I don't think even if I tried, I could get back to 125. Yet that number, and I think it's because I really liked what my body looked like at that point, so that number still kind of creeps into my brain when I'm setting my own healthy goals, or where I'm trying to think of where my healthy set point is. And that's something that over time that I've really had to work at letting go of. And one of the things that I've realized as I grow older is that I think for women more so than men too, is that our bodies are going to change so often with hormone fluctuation and with getting pregnant and then postnatal. There are so many things that we go through that cause significant change in our bodies. So I think it's really important for us as women to let go of the notion that we need to be this one specific weight and hold on to that number. And just again, like I was saying at the beginning of this video, is to just let weight be one of the factors we look at when we are taking into consideration how healthy we are, but it should never be the defining factor. And I wish that for you too, as that you could really let go of weight being the number one thing, because it's so often at the top of our list. And again, just let it be one of the factors. And if you are holding on to a specific number, if you have a specific number in mind of where you want to be weight-wise, that's okay. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have that as a goal, but let's ask ourselves a few questions. Number one, where does it originate from? So where is your goal weight coming from? Is it like mine was? Is it a number from your past that you feel like was your healthy weight back then, but maybe can we look at it a little bit more and realize that it's not really going to serve us at this point in our lives? Is it coming from a healthy source, such as your doctor or your naturopath or someone in the medical field that knows your body, knows your composition, and has been able to give you a healthy set point? Is it from the media or from perceptions of what you think that you should be? So ask yourself, where does my goal weight originate from? And is that a healthy place? Number two, ask yourself if the goal weight, especially if this is something that you've been working at for a very long time, is it a realistic goal weight, or does this constantly feel like an uphill battle? And if it does constantly feel like an uphill battle and you are doing everything within your power, there is nothing more frustrating than that. And I really would suggest, maybe if you can, have a chat with your physician or whoever it is that gave you this set point, this set weight, and discuss the factors going into your progress, and discuss the reality of hitting this goal. And maybe you can set something that's a little bit more within your range, which will just help your mindset so much. And last but not least, it's really not a question, it's more so of an action step for you, is that I really encourage you to put, I call it the balancing act, but I encourage you to have a balancing act or a balancing partner with weight. So if weight loss is something, or that checking in with your weight is something that you do often, then give it a balancing partner to help boost your confidence and to remind you that you are on the right path. Even if this number doesn't reflect it, you're on the right path. So for me, I check in with my cardiovascular progress. I check in with my aerobic testing. So that is something else that I monitor on a regular basis that helps me to know that I'm staying on track. For many of my clients, they have their balancing act is how they fit in their clothes. So if weight isn't necessarily reflecting what they want it to be, but they're fitting into their clothes a little bit better, you know what they say to the scale? It would be improper for me to do the gesture, but you know what I'm getting at. That's what they say to the scale, because they fit into their clothes better and they're not going to let that number get them down. So you see where I'm going with this. Get a balancing act, get a partner to your scale, so that when you step on the scale, you also check in with this partner over here to remind yourself that you are on the right path. There is nothing more heartbreaking to me as a trainer than to see a client who is working so hard and who is achieving so many things in terms of their physical fitness and their progress. There's nothing more heartbreaking than to see them deflated in terms of confidence and self-esteem day after day because of that number on the scale. And my best piece of advice to you is to let go of that. And just like I said at the beginning of this video, is that your weight is just one of the factors. It's not to say it isn't an important factor, because when you have a significant amount of weight to lose, it certainly is. But when we get down to that last 5 to 10 pounds, I want you to try as best as you can to think about putting that down on the priority list a little bit and making sure that you're checking in with all of the other things that you're doing such a wonderful job at. So important. When you're down to those last 5 to 10 pounds, let go of the notion that you need to be at a certain weight and go by how you feel. How do your clothes feel right now? Are your clothes feeling looser? Do you feel like you're progressing in terms of strength and endurance and flexibility? Do you feel more energy? Do you feel your immune system is stronger? We often have a tendency to let our weight erase all those other factors. We just kind of forget that we're doing a stellar job. Did I just say stellar? I did. We're doing a stellar job across the board, but that little number takes away our our mojo. So don't let that happen to you anymore. And I encourage you to stop weighing yourself on a daily basis. No. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't put yourself through that, especially if you're experiencing a little bit of a plateau right now. Don't put yourself through that. You only need to weigh yourself, if weight loss is your goal, once a week. Once a week is your check-in point. Once a week. And when you do that weekly weigh-in, just like we said in the last segment, I want you to check in with your balancing act, your balancing partner. How are your clothes fitting? How are your workouts going? It's important to check in with all of those things because taking into consideration every little checkpoint on your road to progress is going to give you a true definition of a true gauge of where you're really at. So be kind to yourself and make sure that that weight is not the only thing that you're looking at. Don't let that get you down. Now, what if you're listening to all of this and you're thinking, yeah, that's nice, Jen, but my clothes aren't fitting any better either, and I don't really know what to do. So if you're finding yourself at a place where not only does your goal weight maybe not feel realistic, but you're also not fitting into your clothes any better and no progress is happening, well, then it's time to assess your program and to see what we can do to fix that. From a nutritional standpoint, there are a lot of little teeny tiny adjustments that can be made to shake things up. And if you watched the talk, it was the superfood talk on micronutrients, one of the things that often happens is that we're deficient in micronutrients, so our macronutrients in terms of carbs, protein, and fat aren't being assimilated properly. So there's one thing that could be off. In terms of fitness, it's so hard to program design for a group and hit everyone accurately. And one of the things that I've found with my private clients is that some of them do really well with the high intensity interval training. The others, for a while, need to be on more of a steady state cardio, and that seems to trigger some weight loss and some fat loss. And then once they get under, I talk so much with my hands. Once they get under the 10-pound range, then the high-intensity interval training works really well for them. So with fitness, it is a really delicate balance, and no program is going to work the same for any person. So if you have any questions on that, if you're stalled at the point where nothing is happening, then that is the time that you send an email because I can give you that extra support and we can kind of figure out some ideas of what to do. So that's it for Weight Loss Wednesday. Join me next week. We have a guest on the show for Weight Loss Wednesday. We're talking all about gluten and the whole gluten-free, I don't want to call it a craze because it's no longer a craze. It is something that I think every single one of us should consider. The ups and the downs, if there are any ups, I don't know, of gluten. And so Kathy Nelson from Gluten Free and Happy and also from Ovali is going to be our guest on the show, and I'm really excited. She has a great story about her experience with going gluten-free. And in addition to that, we're also going to talk about grain-free, not just gluten-free, but grain-free alternatives. And I'll be giving you a suggested guide for how to, first of all, eliminate gluten, and then second of all, just experiment a little bit with what it feels like to be grain-free. So that's it, you guys. I hope you have a great finish to your week. We are less than 10 days to go, and you're all doing a great job. So thanks for checking in tonight, and I will talk to you soon.